Hi everyone, this is Gavin from Gavin's Gadgets. Hope you guys are keeping well. This is my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and this is after using it for a month. I've decided that I'm not going to rush reviews. So actually what I'm going to do is each time a significant time period passes, I'm going to talk about what's happened on this iPhone, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the magnificent, just to give a true picture of what it's like. And I'll update everything I've talked about previously in the newer video, just to give you an idea of what I'm seeing. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about using this is battery. It is fantastic to have a phone, any phone, but actually an iPhone, which has decent battery life. Very, very good. Easily gets you through a day. You can game on it. You can do all sorts of bits and pieces. But if you're going to use this to take video, to take photos, to message, you need a good battery. And battery anxiety has gone. Very, very impressive. But talking about photos, I'm not using the beta. I don't think that's fair. I want to give a true impression of the stable builds. So I'm on the latest version of iOS 13, but not 13.2 that has the deep fusion embedded in the photos. But I have taken some really magnificent photos, and I'm just going to show you a selection. So now you've seen some of the photos, I want to show you what I like, which is when you can do stuff straight out the camera app called long exposure. And long exposure is really handy when you're taking things with moving water. So here's a shot, and here's the second shot, except they're the same shot. So what you're doing on the phone is that you pick photos. So you open up your photos, you pick on a photo, and then you swipe up. And then you see these boxes here. And these boxes have names under heading effects. Live, loop, bounce, and long exposure. Now, if you tap the long exposure, you get this version of the same photo. Now, I quite like using live photos. In previous versions of iPhone, I turned it off because I found it was a bit of a waste of space and annoyed me. But this time it's working very well, and you can do special effects like loop and bounce with motion. So if you dived into a pool, you can actually show yourself coming back out using one of the effects. There's also a whole host of third-party camera apps that can take photography to another level. So you can actually take even better long exposures like this one here. I'm going to do a whole tutorial video covering camera apps, covering off specific aspects of the camera apps. Pretty cool. So what else do I like? Well, actually, there's something called Apple Arcade. Now, for $4.99 a month, or $4.99 a month, you get access to around about 100 quality games. I think it's up to about 80-ish at the moment. The first month's free. You have a free trial. And I downloaded all the games. I had a good play. I have completed Stella, which is a platform game. That took quite some time, but I really enjoyed that. Grindstone for a quick sort of puzzle intrigue, but with it's a bit different. But what I like about all these games, there is something for everyone. No matter what your genre is, you will enjoy the actual Apple Arcade. But more importantly, there's no in-app purchases. You just get good quality games where the developers have spent the time making these games look good, play well, and just no ads, no in-app purchases. And I do like that. But it is a bit steep. £5 a month, $5 a month, times 12 is $60 a year. And you have to ask yourself, would you spend $60 a year on games? Well, you could go buy a console game for 60 quid and get hours and hours of entertainment. And I think that's what you're getting with Apple Arcade. I do enjoy it. It is very good. So Apple Arcade to me is actually a selling point. It does tie you into the ecosystem, but if you're getting enjoyment out of it, then why not? The other thing is the Apple Watch. I've absolutely been amazed at how good it is. I haven't had an Apple Watch since, that's the Series 5. I haven't had one since Series 1. And it's a long time, and so much has changed. And I've been using the Galaxy Gears, Samsung, watch, and this, and Phoenix, and all sorts of other types of running, sport, fitness, bands, and everything. And because I haven't been using the iPhone full time, I have tested each model that's come out. It hasn't quite sort of given the chance to think, well, let's try the watch as well. That wasn't my thing to do. And I'm really amazed, and it does obviously mean that you have to have the iPhone to have the watch. But the reason I'm comfortable with the iPhone is all the apps work well, Face ID works well, the camera is very consistent. It's consistent across all shooting modes. And when you go from telephoto, when you go to ultra wide, and then you go to the standard, the color balance and science is pretty well matched between them all. In fact, the video is so good, I'm looking at an iPhone 11, which I decided to pick up and have 2 iPhones to do my video work. And the other aspect of that is I've got AirDrop, so I can share the video files really quickly from one phone across to another. I'm also going to talk about some of the video editing apps that I use, because all these videos you watch on YouTube have been edited on the iPhone or my iPad. But to be honest, even though the iPad is easy, it's a bigger interface and bigger screen, I find that I can do it just as well on the iPhone, and so often I've got that in my hand. The video is just straight off it's been taken on the iPhone, it's there, and boom, I can take it. Very, very good. So I'll just give you an idea of some of the video apps and what you can do. And that's the beauty of third-party camera apps on this particular phone, is that you can do all sorts of different effects. You can play around, they can do little tricks and whatever. And iOS does have a very, very huge database of good quality apps on a number of genres. And I'm just showing off one app here, but all this sort of stuff will get a lot better over time as other apps introduce this type of feature. So I've shown you a couple of special effects you can do with different third-party camera apps, but it doesn't matter what your hobby is, what your professional line of work is. There are specialist apps covering nearly every genre, and with iOS 13 it did bridge the gap for me in terms of what was missing in iOS, and it does make it a far more enjoyable device. I won't deny iOS 13 has had bugs, still has bugs, but despite all that, it's a very enjoyable phone to use. And to think that I've actually got another iPhone so I can use both to do all my video work. I just picked up the cheapest iPhone 11 I could find, and amazed that this is actually front camera. I've got it in a rig, it's obviously stabilized, but it does make a huge difference. And obviously I've got the iPad and I can airdrop the files really fast between each other despite their size. It's very good. So I've talked about camera, talked about battery life, I've talked about Apple Arcade and Apple Music. Now, I have actually cancelled my YouTube Premium subscription, which obviously part of that, it removed the ads from YouTube and also gave you YouTube Music. YouTube Music for me totally sucked. I just couldn't get it to give me anything decent in recommendations. Apple Music, within about the first day, it was giving me some really good genres across a multiple, from jazz to electronic, classical, and it just seems to have a much better way of getting the music that you enjoy. Does mean that I'm going to have to see ads in YouTube, but I just don't think the whole total cost, you know, yes, I would pay a small amount to remove the ads, but as I'm not going to use the YouTube Music, I've unsubscribed on the YouTube Premium. So I've happily just given my money to Apple and Apple Music. It does work well. And I think that's the underlying message for everything, that you've got iCloud storage, the Apple Arcade, you're going to have Apple TV Plus coming along. As you can see what's happening here, Apple's reducing the cost of the iPhone 11 this year. Why? Because it's going to have a lot of subscription services to sign you all up across its platform. And I think we're going to see that happening more with Google. And the reason I think Google are going to do that is simply this: they need to start charging money for their services. You can't maintain a free service for forever. It just doesn't, that's not a good business practice unless you get something else out of it that you can earn money for, like they learn about who you are and they can sell you ads or sell other people ads to make you buy products. But I think that game will not last forever, and people have to start paying for stuff. But I'd rather pay and not have adverts. I know, for example, that on the Google feed on one of my friend's Pixel devices, they started getting adverts on the feed that's part of the home screen. It's one of the pages on the home screen, and they were upset about that. They're saying, well, I spent £800 on this Pixel 3 XL and now I'm getting adverts. And unfortunately, that is just the world we live in. But it'd be nice if you could actually pay and not have adverts. So the other aspect of this phone is usability. No fancy hardware with curving edges and screens, just flat, pretty much flat screen, very easy to use, very easy to get to the apps, very easy to hold. Doesn't need a case because it's still slippery, but very easy to hold. And it's a very practical, usable device. Good cameras, good hardware, good software, and everything seems to work well at the moment. And this being an Apple device, I'm hoping it gets lots and lots of updates. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this quick update. This is Gavin from Gavin's Gadgets. Catch you guys soon. Bye for now.